When the pandemic forced some businesses to move to remote work, most organizations didn't have a remote work policy or procedures in place. Organizations learned to operate in this new environment almost overnight. With many employees working from home instead of at the office, some relied on their own equipment and internet instead of employer-provided tools as you would in office. This led to many employees wondering who should be responsible for the expenses that they'd accumulated for remote work. Should employers cover the costs of remote work, or does that responsibility fall to the employees? In this video, we'll discuss the rules for remote employee reimbursement. First, let's discuss why it's important to know state reimbursement rules. As of 2022, some employees have sued their employers over unreimbursed remote work costs. According to the Los Angeles Times, the companies sued include Wells Fargo, Liberty Mutual Insurance, Visa, Oracle, and Bank of America, to just name a few. Workers have also sued Amazon in California for unpaid remote work expenses. By knowing your state's laws, you could avoid potential lawsuits against your organization. Okay, so what about federal laws? Are there any federal requirements for remote work reimbursement? No. No federal laws require you to reimburse your employees for their work-related expenses. However, the Fair Labor Standards Act does require expense reimbursement if work expenses cause an employee's earnings to drop below the federal minimum wage. To understand state laws surrounding expense reimbursement, you need to understand what a necessary expense is. Some states require employers to reimburse their employees only for necessary expenses. In most cases, the cost wouldn't be considered necessary if an employee chooses to work remotely. But if your organization is fully remote, or if you are only hiring remote positions, then those costs would be considered necessary for their employment. It's best to check with your state's laws regarding what's considered a necessary business expense. Okay, so which states have expense reimbursement laws? Currently, 11 states, the District of Columbia, and the City of Seattle, Washington have laws about employee expense reimbursement. California requires employers to reimburse their employees for all necessary expenses, including internet access costs and phone bills for remote workers. DC requires employers to reimburse their employees for all necessary tools. Illinois requires employers to reimburse employees for all necessary expenses, including home internet access and phone bills for remote workers. Iowa, New Hampshire, and New York only require you to reimburse your employees for work-related expenses if there's an existing agreement or if they were directed to incur the cost directly by the employer. Massachusetts enforces the same rules as federal law, where required expenses can't reduce an employee's wage below the state minimum wage. In Minnesota, employers must reimburse employees for uniforms, equipment, and consumable supplies upon termination. In other words, if an employee leaves your organization, they must have been reimbursed in full for all of their eligible expenses up to that point. Montana, South Dakota, and the City of Seattle require reimbursement for any necessary business expenses. Whether you're required to reimburse your employees or not, doing so can increase employee morale and be considered an employee benefit. Offering a remote work employee stipend allows you to reimburse your employees for their home office costs. This can include phone and internet bills, and home office setup costs such as tools and equipment. It works like this. You set a monthly allowance for your employees to use for their remote work expenses. They simply request reimbursement for the eligible expenses, and you reimburse them up to the set allowance. A stipend allows your remote workers to quickly cover their expenses while satisfying state requirements for remote work reimbursement. With Work Perks by PeopleKeep, you can create quality employee stipends of your choice. While remote employee reimbursement isn't required in every state, doing so can help you attract and retain employees and improve morale. In the states where expense reimbursement is required, it can help you avoid potential lawsuits. To learn more about remote employee reimbursement laws, check out the link to our guide in the description below. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more employee benefits and small business tips. Thanks for watching.